everyone. Guess what I just got done doing?
Ooh, one of those things that we talked about.
One of the things that I would do to occupy my time during the NFL offseason?
Yeah. Are we talking one of those things?
No.
Oh,
We're talking about
okay.
either, let's see, what were they? Play golf. God, I'm forgetting them already.
Drive to Survive. Watch Drive to Survive.
Watch Drive to Survive.
New season's out.
Go snorkeling.
Mm-hmm.
And what were the new ones? It came up with 2 new ones last week.
Fishing. Well,
Fishing.
that's gonna be what Derek. I actually found a spot right here in the meet. I went for a little walk down to Crab Cove, and there's like this tip of the this little like peninsula type thing. It's like the tip of the ocean, the tip of the bay. Bunch of rocks. Everyone's just fishing.
The dock of the bay.
You'd be remixing that, sitting on the rocks of the bay, because there's rocks all over there and a bunch of people fishing. So I think we could do like a fun little episode type thing out there, or at least content. I forgot what the other thing was already.
Cooking more.
Yeah. All right. So what'd you get done doing?
None of those things.
Okay.
Did none of those things. Just got done watching a little Giant spring training.
Wow.
I know. Who am I? What's become of me?
I don't think that's the surprising part. I think the surprising part is you can actually watch these spring training games now. How about that?
Well, just one game yesterday as NBC Sports Bay Area broadcasted the game with John Miller and Dwayne Kuiper.
Finally.
And just got done watching a little Giant spring training. Going to have to bone up on my baseball.
Don't sound too excited.
No, I mean, hey, it's part of the gig. Love watching spring training with the Giants going up against the split squad, Kansas City Royals. Yeah, it's a nice 7-3 win.
Well, what stood out to you, Derek? Give us a little preview. Give us a little appetizer for what you're going to talk about tomorrow. What are your thoughts on this Giants team?
I don't know if we'll talk about it too much tomorrow, but Matt Chapman just looks awesome. I mean, he's hitting really well right now. What is it? 533 right now. Yeah, I have to get my terminology down and everything.
This is going to go well.
5 home runs. He's looking really good.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't so much like yesterday. Like, obviously, I think they put out basically their opening day lineup with the exception of who was it? Stassi playing catcher instead of Bailey.
Yeah.
I guess the big thing right now is it sounds like Kyle Harrison's maybe not going to be the 5th guy in the rotation. It probably will be Landon Roop from all the reports.
Yeah, he's not looking good, man. I thought he was going to be a lot better. Obviously, I think a lot of people did. He's a top left-handed prospect in all of baseball at one point, and then I don't know. He just seems to have this fastball that doesn't have a lot of movement to it. Very mechanical, very very technical, I guess, like with his windup and everything. But God, when the ball just leaves his hands, there's just not much to it, at least in terms of Major League Baseball. I mean, if I was standing up there, I'd be fooled to hell. But yeah, man, what was it? 5 earned runs in like 1 2/3 innings or whatever it was.
Yeah, it wasn't. Basically, it was an inning, and he gave up 5 hits. Yeah, off of 5 runs, and
gave up all the runs. Right, there was all the runs they gave up in that game.
Yep. Now looking good for old Kyle Harrison. People are talking about maybe him going to the bullpen, but how much stock do you put into spring training games?
Not a lot, but I do think that I don't think I put stock into players being good, but I do put a little bit of stock into players playing poorly, if that makes sense.
No, I get that.
Like if you're just playing well, it's like, all right, well, it's just spring training. You're playing against, fringe rotation guys, fringe roster guys. But if you're like Kyle Harrison and you're starting off the inning, giving up 5 runs, I do put a little bit of stock into that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, Matt Chapman got a 3-run homer yesterday off of Michael Wacha. So, I mean, he's having a great spring training. And, yeah, everybody's hitting pretty well. Jung-Hoo Lee, Willie Adames. This is just to prove to everybody that I could talk a little bit of baseball as I get ready for this roundtable thing we're going to do for KMBR.
You're you're not an idiot when it comes to baseball, Derek. You just haven't paid attention to the Giants as much as everyone else, I'm sure, at your station.
I know.
My former station and my current station. We got a lot of Giants fans at KCBS too. So it's not like you don't know anything about baseball. It's not like you're just like brushing up on what a hit is or what counts as a run or an
I
RBI.
know. It just right now it's getting annoying where obviously I'm not a diehard as much as everybody else. So I'm hearing it from everybody. All the shows. Got to hear from Murph in the morning. Got to hear from my own show with Copes, my own father. It's just been fun. Can't wait for that round table. That's going to be thrilling.
Your own father did play-by-play for the A's. Like,
Yeah.
what are we talking about here?
Nah, he doesn't know baseball.
Yes, he does. He knows quite a bit.
No, I'm doing my dad as talking about me.
Oh. This team reminds me a lot of the 2005 Oakland Athletics. They got a center fielder in Jung-Hoo Lee who reminds me a lot of Shannon Stewart.
That would be me, just comparing it to the 2005 Oakland A's.
Yeah.
I couldn't even tell you much about the 2005 Oakland A's. I could tell you about the 2006 Oakland A's as they went to the ALCS that year. But
got a lot of Jameel Weeks in them. Got a lot of Jameel Weeks.
I saw him last week when I went to the A's Fans Fest.
Really?
He spoke. Miguel Tejada, Jose Canseco spoke as well. Didn't really read the room as far as why we were there in Oakland. Gave a ringing endorsement for the A's in Sacramento and Las Vegas, which we'll get to a little bit later. Jesus Christ. Fucking A's. All right, enough baseball. We're here to talk about football.
Well, actually, I have a question for you,
fuckery is afoot, Steven.
Are we doing like a pop culture catch-up thing at the end, or can I ask you this question right on the front end of this podcast?
Sure. You can ask me a question.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your permission.
Just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. Go ahead.
Have you ever seen Grey's Anatomy?
I mean, I'm sure it was on in the background when my mom was watching it. Yeah,
dude. So I haven't watched I've watched
McDreamy, whatever the hell.
Yeah. So I watched a couple of episodes like in full, but Jesse's been like kind of rewatching it, or I guess like she's watched a majority of it, but there's been some new seasons that have come out. As far as like, I'm not talking about like action or the stuff that the injuries, the stuff that brings people to the hospital. I'm not talking about that necessarily, but the drama in this show, as far as the storylines go, I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. They just keep on coming up with new ways to keep this show going. It's like you go in, you tune in one episode and it's McDreamy, it's Patrick Dempsey, and the chick from Old School who wears the White Snake jean jacket and smokes the Marlboro Reds.
Yeah.
And then the next, it's like he's gone, and you got a whole new set of characters. And White Snake Jacket Jean Girl is still in the show, but everyone else is different. And then it's like, well, you got these two characters, and they're both married, and they both have stepchildren, and their stepchildren are dating, and they know it. So it's like there's that. There's like separate marriages going on at the same time. All these people in this little hospital. There's always something going on. I've never seen anything like it, Derek.
Okay, so it's not like your typical emergency room drama, is what you're saying.
No, it is not. They keep on finding new ways to keep this show going. It's insanity.
I mean, the way that I always kind of envisioned the show was it was very sexual. Everybody kind of like always hooking up. Yeah. So it'd be like two doctors boning, and then there'd be like a patient in the room being like, "Excuse me, I have cancer. Could you help me?"
It's exactly what it is.
Okay, that's what I envision. It's not like ER or House or even Scrubs, where they're actually helping the people.
Well, they do help the people. There are certain episodes where they help the people, but that's on the back burner. It's like, my God, if a hospital that I'm going to has this much going on in their personal lives, I don't want to go to that hospital.
Yeah, I know. They seem like selfish pricks, to be honest.
And Jessie knows how insane the show is. Like, she understands. That's why she watches it.
But you guys are so you're watching that show now. It's off the air, I'm assuming.
No, it's still going.
Grey's Anatomy still going?
It's still going, dude.
God.
Yeah. And she knows how I haven't watched it.
Should ask Tacky. He probably watches it every week.
Exactly. It's right on after MasterChef and Kitchen Nightmares.
MasterChef Convicts.
Yeah.
Coming this summer.
It's just like it's wild, dude. I tune in one day or I see it one day and there's like a whole bunch of these characters and they all got something going on. And then Jessie watches like a bunch more episodes and then I tune back in and I'm like, what the hell happened? It's like this one was pregnant, scared that she was going to tell the guy who she's whose baby it is, and now that guy's in like a love triangle with her, and she's dating someone else who's a brain surgeon who worked on the brain of someone else in the hospital. It's insane, dude.
What's the deal with that?
What's the deal with this show?
Man, shenanigans on Grey's Anatomy. Well,
anyway, it was fresh in my mind, Jarek, because she's watching it like not right now, but she was watching it before we hopped on here, and it's just I had to bring it up. Yeah.
Can't say that that's going to be on my viewing list going forward. Never was really a Grey's Anatomy guy.
Yeah. I'm just saying, dude, if you see, it's insane. And House was great. Pat H is correct there. House was my favorite.
Laurie?
Yeah. Supposedly, that showed The Pit on Max. It's like a new hospital drama type thing. Apparently, that's really good.
Okay.
Like really good. It's spelled like Pitt, like the University of Pittsburgh, Pitt.
Gotcha.
It seems pretty damn good. So I think we might actually start watching that once we catch up on Severance and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, man. If we have more time at the end, I'll go into Severance. That show's getting it's good. It's just getting weird. Episodes on Severance.
No shit it is, Derek. What a
yeah, I know, but
you change your tune on it, dude.
No, it's not bad. It's just like some episodes you're like, I don't like. They're branching off into other minor characters subplots, and you're like, I don't know if I care that much about it.
Wow.
But real quick before we get into some football, the fuckery is afoot. We'll get into free agency. Did you feel weird this morning with daylight savings as we spring forward? I'm more of a fall back guy, but
yeah.
Wait, what is that the right way it is? Spring
Correct.
Forward, fall back? Yeah.
Correct.
I like
because
that
you're going to fall and spring, you know what I mean? It makes sense. Yeah.
I like that we get more sunlight at 5 o'clock so we can all dance and not, dance in the sunlight at 5 o'clock and not have to, I don't know, when I got to get off work at 5 or 6 and the sun's down, I'm like, oh, this is so depressing. But now I can get out of work and like, I can dance a little bit.
That's why you love it.
To dance again. We all need to dance in the streets of night. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. Do you like that we lost some sleep today?
Of course not, but it is what it is. I don't really have much on that. I don't have much on daylight savings time, Derek. I mean, but do I? It's
a topic we always have this time of year.
Yes, it is.
You like the sunlight, but you miss out on the sleep.
Correct. It's like, you got to take the good with the bad. It's a metaphor for life, Derek.
As is the dancing.
Exactly. I feel much better with the sun out though. So I'm excited.
I do too.
Living in Demita now. Shoot, man.
I know. Now there's more time for you to fish.
Exactly.
Sitting on the dock of the bay or the rocks of the bay.
Sitting on the rocks of the bay, baby.
All right, let's talk about NFL free agency. Things are percolating, things are popping. It all goes down tomorrow at 9 a.m. our time as the legal tampering period starts. I know that the real new, the new league year starts on Wednesday technically, but tomorrow it really starts. Even though guys can back out of deals, but things get announced. That's when things really go down. So right now, I mean, we'll get to a lot of stuff. Myles Garrett just signed a new deal, and we'll talk about that more. Like, to go from the trade demand of he'll never play for the Browns again, and I want to, play on a contender, all that just changes just like that with a new contract. Tim Kawakami reports that it sounds like the Niners are closing in on Joey Bosa, just a matter of time when they sign that contract. So we'll get into that a little bit more. But Friday afternoon, the news broke. And I was not anticipating this. Geno Smith traded to the Raiders for a third-round pick. We heard rumors of Sam Darnold. They were in on other veteran quarterbacks. They really wanted Matthew Stafford. They were potentially going to offer him $50 million a year. In the end, he goes back to L.A., and you got to wonder about what this means for the rookie class. If the Raiders are interested in any of these quarterbacks, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. But yeah, the Raiders get their guy, Geno Smith. Reportedly, they're going to give him a new contract too. He's the quarterback for the future of this team. And he's paired up again with Pete Carroll. So, Steven, your thoughts? Geno Smith is your starting quarterback of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Can't say I'm like shocked because there was a little rumbling about this before when Pete Carroll immediately got hired. And then when you look back at Geno Smith's career, he credits Pete Carroll with giving him his confidence back because he lost a lot of it, whether it was with the Jets. Where was he before that too? The Giants. Like, you kind of forget about where
he bounced around a lot. Yeah, it was Jets, Giants, and Seahawks.
Right.
And that's it.
And so
do you remember that game? He actually started for Eli Manning when they benched him against the Raiders, and that was a weird decision.
Right. But so I can't say I'm like too surprised because like Pete Carroll was his guy. But the Raiders also have a lot of cap room. So they had to give him a contract. He went wherever he was going. He wanted to get a new contract extension, obviously, because he was going up to the last year of his deal. The fact that they traded a third rounder for him, it might be a little steep, but look, man, it's an upgrade. It's an upgrade. Sam Darnold was a question mark. I think he actually could have commanded more than I think what Geno Smith is going to get, which is what $40 million a year contract.
Sounds like it.
I forgot what the total is going to be, but I don't know with Sam Darnold. You can run it with the rookie, and you can run it from the start of the season. But look, man, if Geno's your guy moving forward, that's fine. I just don't expect him to be the starter for that much longer because there has been a little bit of drop off. He's probably going to start the first year, and they might draft a quarterback. But the thing is, I thought they were going to draft a quarterback with that third round pick. I don't know. They might use their second round pick to draft one. I thought they were going to spend it on like a Jackson Dart if he drops to the third round. I don't even know. Maybe they use their second round pick on him. I'm all over the place, but really where I'm at, Derek, is I like the move. It's an upgrade at quarterback. It's a sure thing. Once a Pro Bowl or whatever that means. And he's a veteran, man. He can, from when I talked to Mauser, who's like the biggest Seahawks fan that any of us know. When I talked to Mauser, he said, "Oh, you're going to like Geno. He's going to piss you off at times and you're going to wonder what the hell he's doing. But for the most part, you're going to like him." And I think he's got a chip on his shoulder too. So I like the move. It's an upgrade over what they had last year. Is it the most inspiring? No, but I like it.
I was a little surprised. We heard rumors about this, but I didn't actually think it would come to fruition. Like, I think at the end of the day, when you see that the Seahawks are releasing Tyler Lockett and trading DK Metcalf, then I thought, okay, they're going a different direction, but I didn't think they'd change everything quarterback-wise. And I think they were looking for any excuse to get out of having Geno Smith as their quarterback. Yeah. I think that Pete Carroll really likes him. I mean, he was a journeyman backup for the longest time. And then when they made him the starter in Seattle, people were like, okay, well, that's not going to go anywhere. And then Pete Carroll made him a good player. It's not so much him. It's the offensive coordinators he had. Really, Shane Waldron actually turned Geno Smith into a really good quarterback. But, yeah, I mean, when I saw the news, I mean, like they just didn't want to pay him whatever he was looking for, and I guess that's $40 million a year. So a third-round pick, you got that in the Devontae deal, so not that big of a deal to trade a third-round pick for your starting quarterback. My thing though is, it's an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo and Gardner Minshew, but in the same vein, it's kind of like a quick fix, a veteran quarterback to fill the gap for a little bit of time. This whole notion that Geno Smith is their quarterback of the future, I don't see that at all. No. Like, honestly,
where's that notion coming from, though?
Diana Rossini is saying, and what's his name, Jordan Schultz, are both saying that the Raiders are viewing him as their long-term answer at quarterback. And he's 34 years old. So I don't know how long that'll be.
Right.
That's why I'm not like, yeah, it may be that they realize they're not going to be able to draft the quarterback at 6, the guy that they want at least, whether it's Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. Maybe it's Jackson Dart. Maybe the connection with Chip Kelly. I really don't know what their connection is. Jackson Dart played at USC, but I don't really know. I guess Chip Kelly may have recruited him or something. But there's rumors there. Maybe he's the answer for them in the second round. If Jackson Dart stays there, we'll see.
Right.
But, yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, Geno's a good quarterback, but not a great quarterback. Like I said, he's an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo or Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell. But for how long? Like I was hoping that they would really get younger at the position. So I don't think this kills that entirely. I mean, shit, if Shador is still available at 6, I would still consider drafting him at 6. But if you're going to sign this guy to a multi-year deal, then that's where you're like, are we really going to double up on quarterback with the 6 overall pick? Are we neglecting another position in need? I would, if I were the Raiders, I mean, I would have made this deal, but not signed Geno Smith to a long-term contract. I think that he have to prove it to me for a season.
Right.
And he had a great 2022 season as the first season where he was the full-time starter for the Seattle Seahawks. I think he threw for over 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, got the Seahawks to the playoffs. But since then, it's kind of been the same deal. His numbers have gone down. He's had, pretty solid seasons, but the Seahawks have been not bad. They've been good. They've been above 500, but mediocre. They've been 9-8, or last year 10-7. They only didn't make the playoffs because of some tiebreaker thing with the Rams. Last year he had a fairly good season, 4,000 yards passing, 21 touchdowns, but he threw 15 interceptions, which is a career high. And you watched that game against the Niners. He looked bad. Like he was throwing really just air-mailed passes to Malik Mustafa, Ronaldo Green. I remember that interception in the end zone. There was a point in time where I thought Geno Smith was going to get benched for Sam Howell. So I think Geno is the answer for right now in the season. He makes you competitive, and Pete Carroll obviously knows him. I think it's a better option than Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers or any of these other aging quarterbacks. Is it a better option than Sam Darnold? I don't know, but it sounds like that may have been too pricey. So I get the move. I understand it, but I don't like it as the long-term solution for the Raiders.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be long-term though, Derek. I think that's just them putting that out there. Like ultimately it's going to come down to his performance. And that's why I do think that they still will take a quarterback at 6. Like I really do. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you could say Kirk Cousins was the Falcons' long-term quarterback after they gave him a 4-year deal worth $45 million a year. But then they drafted Michael Penix. Like, so I don't really buy that it's actually true. Look, I think best case scenario is the Raiders weren't going to actually compete this year anyway. Like this was supposed to just be like, I mean, I know Pete Carroll is saying all these things, but you're just supposed to have a season where you actually you just actually seem like you can be competitive in the future here. And I think that this can set up, if you're looking at it perfectly, like how things go, like you have Geno Smith, you have someone waiting in the wings, and then eventually they take over once this team gets a little bit of their confidence up. They're not going to have, I don't know if they're going to win games or not, but I don't know, like if they turn into that team that's like, man, they're just a quarterback away right now. Like they are just that one rookie just waiting. Like once you put him in, then it's all good. I think that's kind of where they stand right now. I think Todd McShay also had an interesting tweet after the Geno thing. So getting questions on pick number 6 following the Geno Smith trade. Hey, AceCast is broadcasting live. This move wouldn't prevent them from taking Shador, but don't think that was in the cards regardless. Also, don't be surprised to see a couple of things from Vegas on draft weekend. Ashton Jeanty at 6 and quarterback Will Howard reuniting with Chip Kelly as a day 2 pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if Chip Kelly's the long-term answer either. So I don't know how I feel about that. It's just, all right, you bring in a rookie to have a reunion with Chip. Okay, well, how much longer is Chip going to be the OC? Like for another 3 years while Pete Carroll's there? I don't know.
Well, what are you assuming, that he's going to get a head coaching job in the NFL or college or?
No, it's just like, I mean, maybe you never know. Like when one of these offensive coordinators has a great season, everyone wants to hire him back. You know, it's bizarre. It works that way.
Well, of course, it's not bizarre. That's the way things are going these days. I think by the
time Will Howard is ready to actually start, like, will Chip Kelly still be the offensive coordinator? I don't know.
It depends. I mean, we'll see what happens. I think that I don't know about him in the NFL as a head coach. I think that it's baby steps, getting back in the league, being an offensive coordinator, but at the same time, he's the highest paid coordinator in all of football, getting $6 million a year. Yeah, you would like to see Will Howard, if they draft him, Chip Kelly, who knows him from college, develop him. But we're a ways away from that.
Yeah.
As far as just the here and now, I don't think this precludes them from drafting a quarterback in the first round. I still want to see that, actually, but it all depends. It could be that they're just playing it safe at this point, where you read all the rumors that the Giants want to trade up to take Cam Ward, and maybe the Titans will come down, and then you see Shador. I know, and then you see Shador possibly going number 2 to the Browns. So I don't know. I think they needed to get a veteran quarterback to make you feel a little bit better about this season. And Pete Carroll is saying all the right things that we want to win right now. And I believe that. Like, I don't think John Spytek, who won a lot in Tampa, comes over and is like, oh, we got to rebuild a little bit. Even though, like, that's the way things should be when you build up a franchise. But Tom Brady's probably telling everybody, like, we want to fucking win right away. Like, let's do this. Like, let's go after Matthew Stafford. Why do we have to settle for third place or fourth place in the AFC West? Well, because the division's very good. Yeah. And right now, by default, you guys are the worst. It's not even a question. It's not even by default. It's just look at the talent. Look who's in that division. I don't need to say it. You know, Mahomes, the Chiefs, they run shit in the AFC. And then you got 2 teams that went to the playoffs this year. They, you know, got really good head coaches, and they're developing their quarterbacks. Justin Herbert's, he's already developed, but we'll see if he takes that next step with Jim Harbaugh. Bo Nix is doing his thing with the Broncos. At least right now, you have a veteran quarterback that can compete with these guys. Like, I like the Raiders' chances as far as just being a competitive team again. Yeah. I think they'll spend in free agency. I think that Pete Carroll will make them a feisty bunch on defense, and we'll see how they are offensively. I have no idea how that's going to look with Chip Kelly calling plays. But I think they're not going to be pushovers in the AFC West. It's just, I don't think that Geno Smith is just the answer for the future for the Pete Carroll, tenure. And we don't know how long Pete's going to coach for. Like, I make the joke, but it's real. Like, we don't know how long Pete's going to do this for. He doesn't have a lot of time to waste. Yeah. So he wants to win right away. He got a guy he knew, but I still think they should plan for the long-term future with their next quarterback, because Geno Smith is no spring chicken. He's 34 years old. I think you need to bring in a 22-year-old, 23-year-old quarterback.
He's also going to be 35 for most of the season, too.
Yes.
Something to monitor. By the way, the Chiefs just gave Nick Bolton a deal. They
saw that.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yep. I mean, they're signing back their guys. Marquise Hollywood Brown, who barely played for them, re-signed yesterday. And it's good timing on that one, because just before that news, Xavier Worthy got arrested for, I guess, strangling a family member. We don't know that those are the allegations. But I guess no charges were filed against Xavier Worthy, so maybe that's a good sign. Who's to say? But it seems like the Chiefs always have, God, every year there's something going on with them off the field, wide receiver wise. Last year it was, what's his name? Who's the guy with the Chiefs? Really good wide receiver. Got arrested for the speeding and having drugs in the car.
Oh, God, I'm blanking on it.
Yeah. Don't you hate getting older?
Rashee Rice.
So yeah, Chiefs have always things going on in the offseason, but they seem to bounce back. So yeah, man, I mean, it was shocking to see that news. Like, damn, the Seahawks are just moving off of Geno Smith, just like that. Yeah. So now the Mike McDonald era in Seattle goes forward without Geno Smith, and the Raiders era starts with Geno. So
wow,
we'll see how that goes. And now the quarterback dominoes kind of go into play here. And from everything that's being reported, it sounds like Sam Darnold will not be back with the Minnesota Vikings, obviously not going to the Raiders. It sounds like I would fully expect him tomorrow. We'll see what kind of contract he gets. I think it's going to directly affect negotiations with Brock Purdy. But something must have happened where they felt comfortable to move off of Geno Smith in Seattle, and all signs point to Sam Darnold being your new Seattle Seahawks quarterback. We'll see if that comes to fruition tomorrow, but that's in play. Aaron Rodgers, apparently his 2 suitors at this point are the New York Giants, who a lot of people that cover the Giants say it's very real that he could sign, and a lot of people don't think it's crazy. I don't get that at all. I see the offensive line. I see the coaching staff being so desperate. I see them only having Malik Neighbors as far as a receiver that you could really write home about. And then there's the dark horse of the Minnesota Vikings, which would basically have Aaron Rodgers just copycat the entire career of Brett Favre. I don't know if that will happen. I think that maybe at some point they just have to go forward with J.J. McCarthy, and I would anticipate probably Daniel Jones as the backup there. And then we'll see about Kirk Cousins. You know, when Terry Fontenot at the Combine last week or 2 weeks ago said, yeah, no, Kirk Cousins is our quarterback going forward. He's under contract. I think he's due like $30 million this season if he stays on the roster by like the third day of the new league year.
Right.
So, and everything sounds like they want to keep him. And if I was Kirk Cousins, I was like, you're wasting my career here.
Yeah.
I could go sign somewhere else, compete for a starting quarterback job. I'm not going to get that here with Michael Penix. You might as well release me. And he wanted to have a meeting with Arthur Blank, and Arthur Blank said, I'll gladly meet with you, but we're going to do what's best for the team going forward. So it could be that Kirk Cousins, when it comes to these, you know, quarterback musical chairs, that he's the one left standing with no team to go to and has to back up Michael Penix. But yeah, man, what do you make of all the dominoes right now with Geno going to the Raiders?
Boring. Good Lord.
Yeah.
We're still talking about Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, and Sam Darnold. Although
possibly Russell Wilson. We'll see if we may go back to the Steelers.
I don't want to say that. I don't want to say Sam Darnold and put them in that same category because it looks like he reinvented himself and, it could get a big contract. I kind of like that move for Darnold and the Seahawks, but what's the point of trading DK then? Like, you're not going to have any receivers. Lockett's gone. DK's about to be gone. I mean, I know Darnold's great, but he also had Justin Jefferson. And I know Jordan Addison's not looked at as like a premier wide receiver in the league, but he's still pretty damn good as like a number 2, number 3 slot guy. Like, I don't really see that being too great of a move for him. Aaron Rodgers, and we've talked about it before. I mean, I'm not going to just tell him he needs to, but I just don't see him I just don't see a point in him actually playing anymore. I know there's this idea that there's like this respect factor. He's got more to prove, but I don't really think Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to prove whatever he wants to prove, which is he can win a Super Bowl at this age, I'm guessing, because that's all these guys play for is championships. I don't think he's going to be able to do that with the Giants. So I think it would just be in his best interest just to walk away and start his blossoming media career where he can join Tucker Carlson tonight every week and, Pat McAfee show and do all those sorts of things that he wants to do. So I think that'd be in his best interest.
You think he would go on Fox News more than Stephen A. Smith?
No. Fox News loves Stephen A. Loves him.
Yeah, Stephen A. We'll talk about him more. Campaigning to be president and pissing off LeBron James.
Well, he also gets a 5-year, $100 million deal with ESPN. So that's, it's interesting. ESPN
making more than most running backs.
Exactly. And did you see that whole thing with Barkley and ESPN?
Yeah, we'll get to it later. I want to have a whole chat about how we should be talking. Like, the whole thing about Charles Barkley is we should be talking about those teams, but he made it a point to talk about something else, which is the irony of the whole damn thing.
Right.
Well, I'll get to it later. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you, Steven. Like, I know that will be the talk of free agency is the quarterbacks, but really, it's not sexy.
No.
None of these guys are in the prime of their careers. They're all kind of hanging on.
But also, none of these are sexy, Derek. If we're looking at the dictionary definition of sexy, no free agency move, no names out there in free agency are sexy.
I told you that. I told you that 2 weeks ago.
It's not a great. It's sexy. Good Lord, you love football so much you're becoming physically attracted to it.
Well, aren't you?
God, it's not a sexy move. Well, of course it's not a sexy
People
move.
throw that adjective out there all the time.
I know, and I think it's stupid.
Well, it kind of reminds me of just going off a tangent here, like of how we're all how weird we all are. Have you ever seen that sketch on SNL where Jason Sudeikis, they make fun of that commercial where it's like an older version of you? You run into him like on an airplane, and he's like, "Hey, take my advice. You want to do this financially. You want to put this into a RIA down the line. And the guy's like, "Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that, older self. No problem." He like grabs his crotch and he's like, "Whoa, what are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, come on. Never thought about having sex with yourself?" Turns into a whole weird thing of like older version of you having sex with yourself. I don't know why that was on my mind, but yeah, sexy. That's how I describe things, Steven, when it comes to football.
Football makes you think of that sort of stuff, huh?
Apparently, it's actually a hilarious sketch. Um, but I mean, yeah, none of these guys like
Are sexy.
exactly like Aaron Rodgers. If he goes to the Giants, it's gonna be sad. It's gonna be
Yeah.
like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, but they do have. I mean, they do have the second pick, and if they get Rodgers, they can probably get a lot for that pick. They do have the second pick, right? No, that's the Browns with the second pick. Giants have the third pick.
Wait, no, well, Rodgers would be released.
Right, but I'm saying like in the draft, they'd probably get a quarterback, and then, or I mean, I'm saying in the draft, they probably won't have to get a quarterback because I think that's the reason Cam Ward and Shador Sanders are going to be gone because the Giants need one. So
Yeah.
I think Cam Ward's going to be going to the Browns at 2, and then Shador Sanders is going to be going at 3. But if they get Rodgers, then the Giants can absolutely use that pick for a little bit of leverage there, and then trade down, and then maybe get a bulk of players. Like they'd have to draft really well because Malik Neighbors is a damn good receiver, and I don't know if. I mean, it takes more than a draft to build up that offensive line. That's for sure.
No,
So,
I mean, definitely. I don't think that Aaron Rodgers solves any of their issues. I mean, like, I think that the Jets were well off better than what
Right.
the Giants currently are.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
with their, like, I know their offensive line wasn't great, but the skill set wise, like, they had Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall and all of these playmakers, and the defense was on paper amazing.
Yeah.
And then they just had a terrible season. So,
Well, there's also something else going on in that organization that I don't think we know about, dude. Like that organization with Woody Johnson at the helm. I know it's like it's just something feels off with them because, like you said, with those players that you just listed, that shouldn't be a team that ended the season the way that it did. Like something else is going on within that organization.
yeah.
Obviously,
Well,
they fired Robert Saleh midway through the season too after 5 games.
yeah, and then Woody Johnson is voted the worst owner in all of the NFL by the players in the report card.
Right.
I mean, we got the reports. We got a sense he gauges things on what his teenage boys tell him when it comes to Madden. So if that's true, yeah, like I don't know. Yeah, I gotta believe it. I gotta see Aaron Rodgers signing with the Giants to believe it. It still seems crazy to me. I think more likely than not, I could see him retiring. That's what I think right now. But who knows? Maybe he just wants to prove it, and he'll end his career in just ugly fashion with the New York Giants. As far as everything else, I think push comes to shove, the Falcons need to release Kirk Cousins. It makes no sense to keep him, but maybe they're just that crazy that they don't ever want to have quarterback issues again. So if Michael Penix somehow falls off or gets injured, they have a stable quarterback ready to go. I don't think that's a good situation, though, for Kirk Cousins. You could get a worse quarterback to back up Michael Penix. As far as the Steelers, yeah, it sounds like they're going to sign back Justin Fields. I think it's the guy they would prefer. And we'll see what happens with Russell Wilson. He's another guy that I don't see a destination for right now. It could be that they just sign both guys back for super cheap and then they make them battle it out. But as far as the NFC West, yeah, it sounds like Sam Darnold's going to be your quarterback going forward. So just in that division, you know, it doesn't sound like a full, like initially when you see Tyler Lockett being released and the Seahawks entertaining DK Metcalf's trade request, that maybe it's going to be a rebuild year. But it doesn't sound like that if they go ahead and sign Sam Darnold, who I guess has a really close relationship with Clint Kubiak. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with these quarterbacks tomorrow. I don't know if we'll get all the answers tomorrow, but things are definitely heating up.
Feels like we're in the early 2010s.
As far as
or the late 2010s, rather, as far as just free agent quarterbacks and who we're talking about before the new league year starts.
Yeah,
hey, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold, Kirk Cousins, where are they going to go?
A lot of guys that are definitely past their prime, and most of them probably should be backup quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about Aaron Rodgers. He still can play, I guess, if everything is perfect around him. Like if he goes to the Vikings, That would be interesting. I don't know if it's sexy, as the way I would describe it, but I think it's intriguing. You have a team that won 14 games a year ago, and they get a quarterback. But I think it would be a downgrade over Sam Darnold. Aaron Rodgers can't move like Sam Darnold. Like, I know Sam Darnold was a deer in the headlights when it came to being blitzed last year, but I still think that for the most part, he was a solid quarterback. Like what he threw for like 35 touchdown passes.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Aaron Rodgers had okay numbers with the Jets this year, but I don't think it would be the same. So, yeah, I don't know what to expect tomorrow, to be completely honest, with Aaron Rodgers. Don't know what to expect with Kirk Cousins. I would assume that the Browns make sense if he were if he were to be released, but I don't know if that's going to happen. So, yeah, I'm with you, Steven. These quarterbacks, they are big names, but in the grand scheme of things, are they difference makers for any team that they would go to? No.
Hell no.
Yep. As far as what's going on with the 49ers, we talked about it last podcast. The reported first offer from Jason LaCanfora apparently was $45 million. But I listened to Scoop City with Diana Rossini, and she says that did not happen. That is not true. The first offer that was given to Brock Purdy was not $45 million. We don't know if it was more or less. I'm assuming more, but she's saying that did not happen. As far as everything else and how they're going to handle the salary cap and this offseason, we've heard from Adam Schefter and Diana Rossini again about how they need to kind of do a reset. And basically, they're going to listen to offers for anyone on the roster. Now, is that legitimate? Like, is that literal? Like, are they really going to listen to trade offers for Nick Bosa? You listen to everything, but and the big thing is Brandon Ayuk. Can they trade him with getting a $30 million a year contract last offseason during training camp and then him tearing his ACL? Albert Breer went on with Rich Eisen and basically said the same thing, that they're trying to trade Ayuk and they need to reset their salary cap, and basically the same strategy that Adam Schefter said on his podcast of how they'll go about with Purdy. They don't have to give him a $50 million a year contract. They feel more comfortable giving him $40 million a year, and they're going to play hardball with him. They can also franchise tag him. Albert Breer said the same exact thing. And then on Friday, Mike Silver came out with a really interesting article in The Athletic. And Mike Silver is actually going to join us next week on this podcast on March 16th. So stay tuned for that. But basically, Mike Silver goes into detail about how they're changing their philosophy, how they regret a lot of the contracts they gave out. Not so much, Bosa and Debo were different. They don't regret the money given out because that's just the market of the player. But at the same time, they want more production from these players. And it's really Brandon Ayuk, how they were really content on trading him away to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then Kyle Shanahan had to come in like a romantic comedy, burst in the door and tell John Lynch, I love him. I need him.
And stuff.
And stuff. And the way that Mike Silver describes it is, going forward, Jed and Parag Marathe are going to have a lot more say in the contracts, and they want Kyle to focus on coaching the team, not get involved with contracts, not making sure the players that he loves and respects make bank. It's their football team, and as the way Mike Silver describes it, they're going to be analytical and, calculated with their moves and going to be ruthless when it's deemed appropriate. So to me, that means we're taking over this organization. John Lynch is going to meet with ownership and Parag, and Kyle is just going to focus on the football team when it comes to contracts. So they're going to play hardball with Brock Purdy, which is definitely a different tune than a year ago with Jed York. But things change. You go 6-11. That's what happens. But it sounds like to me that they're going to be very cautious with giving out deals, and fans probably will be frustrated. because I don't think they're going to spend a lot of money this offseason. I think a lot of guys are going to leave, including Dre Greenlaw. So I would expect tomorrow you're not going to see a lot of movement. Maybe they sign Joey Bosa, maybe to a minimal contract, but it's going to be when you sign a quarterback to a long-term deal, it's going to be costly. So I think that they're going to do a competitive reset, as the way I would describe it.
Yeah, the main article the main part of the article that you're quoting there, and this was the paragraph really, but in the wake of a 6-11 season, a more significant change has taken place. Going all in is out. Coach and driven emotion is no longer a guiding principle. The 49ers are attempting to be cold, calculated, and analytical. You remember those words. Nice work, Derek. When it comes to roster decisions, an organizational reset that coincides with the negotiation of a massive contract extension for the quarterback Brock Purdy.
Cold, calculated, and analytical. And the other one, ruthless as they deem appropriate.
I think obviously they're going to get a deal done with Brock. Like, I don't think that I don't think that they want to go into training camp without their quarterback. Like, that's got to be the guy. Whether, we think that he had kind of a down year last year, and, if they end up trading Ayuk, then it's like, all right, you got Ricky Pearsall, and Ricky Pearsall's great, but you're also going to have George Kittle. But George Kittle is on an expiring contract. Like, I wonder if that article, I don't know. I'm not saying this is a fact, but like, what if they just let George Kittle go, or at least trade him by the deadline? Like, and just say, like, look, man, we can't give you the contract that you want so you could stick here for the remainder of your career. He wants to be a 49er for life, he said. But if they're taking a ruthless approach, I would think that's the direction they're going to go. And I think the draft is going to tell you a lot. The draft is going to tell you a lot. Now, in the first round, if they just, draft a defensive tackle and kind of go where everyone thinks they're going to go, then that's not much of a surprise. But if they end up drafting Tyler Warren, who is expected to be the second tight end taken off the board and expected to go off in the first round, I think
who's the first?
I forgot the other guy. I know he's the John Mackey Award winner, but there's another guy. I forgot his name. He's supposed to go in the top 10.
Okay.
Tyler Warren is more in the 10 to 20 range.
Interesting.
At least, I don't know. That's what the mock drafts are saying. Who knows with mock drafts? But like, if they draft him, you got to think, well, they feel like they found Kittle's replacement. It's not like they thought they were going with his backup. Hell, maybe they even thought they found his replacement with Cameron Latu back in the third round a while back, and he just didn't pan out. So I think that's going to be, I think that's kind of what this article indicates. And obviously we'll talk to Silver more about it next week, and there's going to be more decisions that are made. But I think that's just an indicator, like the people that you've come to love. Obviously, we already happened with Debo. And it's how we equated it, Derek. We equated it to the Warriors when Andre Iguodala first left. It was just slowly but surely just adding new pieces, keeping that core around. You're keeping Brock Purdy, you're keeping Trent, you're keeping Christian McCaffrey. You got them all under contract. But others that you come to know and love that helped get you to 4 NFC championships in 5 seasons, a couple of Super Bowls. Those guys are going to be gone. And it's fascinating, man. Like, I don't know. I think Jed was very, very reckless in the way that he spoke last season. I think you even said it afterwards. You're like, eesh. I know you just lost. I know you had a great season, and I know you made it to the Super Bowl, and you just went to the NFC Championship the year before. But saying something like that, you still got another season to go. You don't even have to. You don't know where you're going to be at. Yeah. And after a 6-11 season, like, I have a very hard time believing that Jed York is not eating his words, or at least regretting saying those words right at this time. Like, ugh. Yeah, we're going to reset the market. We're going to be contending for a very, very long time. And now you're taking a ruthless approach. Man, that Ayuk thing is just that is so damning. The fact that Kyle did that.
Yeah, I would say for Jed York, you can't talk like you're Joe Lacob one year and the next year try to sound like John Fisher.
Right.
Like, that's tough to do. It's tough to put the genie back in the bottle.
Hang on. That would imply that John Fisher actually talks. All
That's
right.
true. That's
Hang
true.
on.
No, fair enough.
That was a
Well, I mean,
great.
he does talk. Occasionally, he talks to tell the Sacramento people that can't wait to have Aaron Judge in this ballpark.
Derek, I'll give you credit. That was a bar, but if you're really looking at it, John Fisher doesn't say shit ever.
No, I know, but I'm talking about like in the way that he does business.
Right.
And not to say that the Niners are anything close to what the A's do financially, but it's coming across as, yeah, we're not just going to give out contracts anymore because Kyle thinks that you're a good player. I will decide if we give you a contract, and you better perform. And this is a scathing article for Brendan Ayuk, honestly. Yeah. Like, Mike Silver has been very outspoken with the way that he believes Brandon Ayuk handled negotiations. I think we all thought he was immature during this. The way he was FaceTiming with other players from other teams, going on podcasts, openly talking about playing for the Commanders or the Steelers, and all his FaceTimes and everything, to 1 minute not want the contract, then say, okay, I'll sign it, then change his mind the next day. Then when it's on the doorstep of a trade for Pittsburgh, he calls Kyle and says, I don't want to go. Kyle feels sorry for him. He runs in the room, tells John Lynch, you can't do this. They did the deal, but everyone has buyer's remorse, even Kyle, apparently. So, yeah, and we're seeing it right now, just as we were talking. Reports just came out that Malik Collins will be released. I think we're going to see Leonard Floyd probably cut. Javon Hargrave, we knew that was coming. John Lynch spoke about that at the end of the season press conference, but he's going to be cut. Kyle Juszczyk sounds like he's going to be released. I would anticipate that George Kittle will be on the football team this season, but they will not sign him back. They don't have the room. They don't have the cap space. He is an aging tight end. He is an all-pro tight end. He is also an aging one. So I think that they want to get a deal done with Purdy, but by their parameters, what they want to do. And they're not going to set the market for him. They're going to, walk that back. That's not happening anymore. And Brock's got to, I guess they're going to play the card of, you should be grateful to get this contract. I know that you've accomplished a lot, and you definitely have done more things than Dak Prescott and Tua Tagovailoa and Trevor Lawrence, but you will not be compensated like those quarterbacks. You still got to prove it to us. You were not making anything for the majority of your career. And now when we offer you something in the range of $45 million a year, you should be grateful for that. And yeah, like in the real world, absolutely. But in the NFL world, no. Brock Purdy definitely deserves a bigger contract than that. But this makes it sound like we don't have to, like, we'll play hardball with you. We'll do the T. Higgins approach. We'll franchise tag you.
Yeah.
And as far as like free agents right now, I think we all assume that Talanoa Hufanga will be gone. Travarius Ward, those are not surprising. Dre Greenlaw, yeah, that's going to be a costly one. And now I am coming around to the idea that they are not going to sign him back. I thought that maybe they could figure out a way if other teams were thinking that we can't sign him to a long-term deal. But it sounds like he will have a market, and the Niners are going to miss out. So maybe they go elsewhere. I think they have their eyes set on the linebacker from the Jets that Robert Saleh knows. I think his name is Jermaine Sherwood. I'm probably screwing up his first name. But yeah, I think that things are going to change pretty quickly here with the 49ers, and I didn't know it was going to come this quickly.
No, it would. Actually, didn't we though? Like,
not as quickly as this.
I think we all knew it would come to a head at some point. But I did think they were going to get Brock's contract done. Not a matter of if, but when, using all those sort of cliches. But again, like, I wonder, like, obviously they got all the faith in the world in Brock, and Kyle Shanahan, I don't think it's just saying up in the media, like, I think we can win multiple Super Bowls here. As long as I'm here and Brock's here, then we can win the Super Bowl. I don't think he says that lightly. But I think they're realizing that it is coming at the expense of others. And I wonder how much, the McCaffrey stuff. I know you had to get McCaffrey's deal done, but man, he's coming off a season where he had tendonitis in both of his, or whatever it was, Achilles tendonitis in both of them, bilateral Achilles tendonitis. And I think there was other stuff that was wrong with him.
PCL.
Trent Williams, who could, Trent Williams, who could barely, play, who was limping onto the field at times. It's interesting. They are really putting a lot of their stock into these older players. And I think we knew, though, that this team wasn't going to be like a Super Bowl favorite anymore. That's now going to the Eagles. I still put the Lions in that conversation for now. I have to see them with the new coaching staff too. But I don't know. I think the 49ers are kind of just another playoff team right now. I still think they're a playoff team because their division's not very good. Seahawks and Rams and Cardinals. Maybe the Cardinals are a better team, but I don't know.
By the way, sorry. Go ahead.
I just think like it's not completely crumbling where they're not on a total downfall. It's just, it's not going to be as dominant as I think we thought it was, or at least as what we've seen over the past 5 years.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's hard
an
to
obvious statement to make.
It's hard to, well, it's not that obvious because I don't think I can't say that 100% because you're just going off of the players that won't be there anymore, and we've become accustomed to them being great players as they were in 2023.
Right.
But last year, I know that Ayuk tore his ACL and he didn't practice a lot, but he wasn't a factor those first 5 or 6 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
And a lot had to deal with, him not showing up in training camp. But you have more faith in Juwan Jennings as a wide receiver right now.
I forgot about Juwan.
I mean, John Lynch said that they need to get younger. And the example that Albert Breer gave was the LA Rams, how they were, fuck them picks for a good deal of time. Guy Matthew Stafford won the Super Bowl, tried to keep it going. And then the 1 year they went 5-12, they were like, all right, we're not doing this again. We actually have to start being a little more careful with our cap. They started releasing guys. They traded Jalen Ramsey. They paid 3 guys in Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Aaron Donald, but they wanted to go younger across the board. I think that's what the Niners are going to do going forward. They're going to put money towards Brock Purdy and Nick Bosa and Trent as long as he's willing to play. And McCaffrey, even though he's making second most right now running back-wise, and, that's not a huge market. But that's it. Everywhere else, they need to save money. And by the way, the name of that Jets linebacker is Jamian Sherwood. And be sure to see his name probably connected to the 49ers, assuming that Dre Greenlaw walks in free agency, which it sounds like most likely he will by maybe tomorrow. The biggest thing to me is I've come around to the fact that they are going to trade Brandon Ayuk. I don't know how, I don't know when, and it's not even about the draft compensation, the trade compensation. They don't really care at this point. Like the way that Larry Krueger told it to me on Friday was, yeah, they know. They probably could have got a better haul for him last offseason when they were doing these deals. But at this point, it's all just about getting the money off the books. So they don't care. It's just really, you got a 5th-round pick, you got a 6th-round pick, you got a 7th-round pick for Brandon Ayuk. All right. New England, if you're having a hard time convincing free agents to come to your team because of the location and the weather and Robert Kraft not being looked at as a very good owner, then we'll give you Brandon Ayuk on a platter because they were willing to offer him a $32 million a year contract. And now they'll do that for a wide receiver that tore his ACL. They just need somebody. So, yeah, I do believe that they are trying their best to get off of the Brandon Ayuk business.
Dude, if they're able to overcome trading as much draft capital as they did for Trey Lance and then just trading him back or getting him back for a 4th rounder and then getting this deal with Ayuk and then trading him out of here and still staying alive, like a lot of teams, that wouldn't happen to a lot of teams. A lot of teams would be dead in the water with that. Good Lord. That'd be a miracle job by this front office and the staff and everything.
And that's something we don't talk about a lot. Trey Lance, obviously, it didn't bite him in the ass. They were able to go forward with Brock Purdy. But as Mike Silver says in this this article, that even though it wasn't a huge deal, it's something that Jed York still has a problem with. To trade away that draft capital and that training camp for Kyle to go into his office and say, our third string quarterback's the best quarterback. It's something you don't want to hear. You don't want to hear that.
No.
I just moved 3 first-round picks to get Trey Lance. How come Trey Lance isn't the guy? I thought you were sure about this, Kyle. So that's what it comes down to, the whole notion that Kyle will not be as involved as John Lynch or anybody else in personnel. He's just going to coach the football team going forward. So very interesting. I think Niner fans are going to be very frustrated about what goes on this offseason. I was not anticipating it to be this, not crazy, but this, I guess, to have a reset this early on. I wasn't expecting that. I knew that the Debo move would have to happen, but everything else, like, they'll release a lot of minor guys, Leonard Floyd, Malik Collins, Javon Hargrave, but I was not going to be surprised if they had to trade a George Kittle. I don't think they're going to trade him. I think they're just going to let him walk. I think they're going to be, as it says in the article, calculated and ruthless when it's appropriate. So, yeah, it's going to be very different.
But I do think something to add, though, and to make sure that we kind of cover all the bases on Silver's article here. Because if you're just listening to the podcast or you're listening to anybody talk about this article, you would think, oof, does this mean like Shanahan and Lynch are in the hot seat?
Not the case.
No, that's not the case with this from the article. Just to make sure we get it, Derek, is York remains highly supportive of Shanahan and Lynch, as he has been since hiring them in 2017. So it doesn't mean they're going to be gone. It just means that, they've been making a lot of these decisions over the past few years, and it resulted in a 6-11 season coming off a year when you went to the Super Bowl. So,
yeah, no, I mean, I don't think they should be on the hot seat. I think they had one bad season, but I think when it comes to the business of running the football team, they've made some errors along the way with giving out contracts.
Yeah. And I wonder, like, I'm pretty interested to ask Silver this, but just like what from that Ayuk contract has put them, like, who has, trying to think of the word here, like, who failed to gain anything off of this Ayuk contract? Who got hit the hardest? Like, who did this impact the most this offseason? Is it like a guy like Dre Greenlaw, who they could probably easily pay if they didn't pay $30 million a year to their wide receiver, or George Kittle? Like, who does this hurt the most on the team as far as like their impending contract negotiations? I wonder. I can't wait to ask him about that. Also, he did say that this last offseason would have been a hit on Hard Knocks. So I am absolutely going to ask him which 49ers offseason since Shanahan and Lynch got here would have made for the best Hard Knocks thing. Because would it have been when Trey Lance got drafted in 2021 and you just have that whole situation? Would it be after, where Jimmy was released, then signed back, and it was just super awkward? He was off to the side. Like, which one? I wonder.
I think it was probably this past offseason.
Yeah, would it be this one? Like this?
Or maybe this upcoming one with, I don't think it's going to be contentious with Brock Purdy, but just how long that lasts. And the Brandon Ayuk stuff last year was such a soap opera. And even after the fact,
it was like Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, there you go. See, full circle, Steven. There you go. Who's the McSteamy of the 49ers brass?
Well, it was McDreamy, and
either way.
No one from 49ers brass, Derek, because I think it would be Jimmy Garoppolo, because he's handsome and he was like the main character. And spoiler alert, McDreamy's no longer there with the show anymore. Yeah, I'd say Jimmy Garoppolo is much like the McDreamy in this whole, if we're talking like the entire era of Shanahan and Lynch. Yeah, it would be Garoppolo.
Okay, I'd say currently Al Guido, because that guy's got charm. I tell you.
Does he?
Yes, he does.
I talked to him a couple of times on the phone.
Talking to Al Guido? Huh?
Yeah, interviewed him a couple of times.
Now I was doing my Jim Tom Sula. Remember that we did the press conference? Like, talking to Al Guido.
Yeah.
Or who was it? Jay Feely? Talking to Al Guido? The kicker?
McSteamy.
McSteamy. So yeah, no, Mike's got the details about everything going on with the 49ers right now. And he even brings up Brandon Ayuk, like, even after they signed the contract, him with the shorts, being told to change it to whatever it was.
Yeah.
The red shorts.
Yeah.
That was a whole sticking point where they were like, seriously, you're going to pull this shit after we give you the contract? You're going to complain about your wardrobe? We're actually doing this?
Can we also, speaking of can we bring up one of the funniest tweets that I've seen in a long time? I'm sure you saw it earlier this week. This was from like the 6th, but it was from Ryan Fitzpatrick. And
explaining what the hell Ayuk was tweeting about.
Yeah, so Ayuk posts on his if Yin were the 100 or better than emoji in another city, I'm icy. Ian, that's my brother's name, got none tucked. Hashtag PS. Ryan Fitzpatrick says, I will happily translate this for those trying to figure it out. If you are not worth 100 million or more, then please be quiet. I am currently visiting another city with lots of jewelry on, but I am not carrying a handgun. To finish Brandon's current thoughts, don't add too much water and stir it because it will most certainly lump up. 2 more possibilities for none tucked. A, all the jewelry is out in the open and nothing is hiding. B, auto-corrected from nunchucks, so he is not to be messed with because he is wielding nunchucks.
Not bad by Ryan Fitzpatrick and his great beard.
Well done.
Okay, as far as news today, I did not see this coming at all, and I got to say I'm thoroughly disappointed. If you want to go Kevin Kline and a fish called Wanda, disappointed I am, because Myles Garrett to cave like this, I'm sorry, dude. Like, I have all the respect in the world to Myles Garrett, but when I saw the report today that he is signing back with the Cleveland Browns for a long-term deal that will make him the highest paid non-quarterback in all of football, making $40 million a year, good for him to get the bag, but that totally goes against everything he did the last 2 months. Like, what was this all for? So we watched Hard Knocks, the AFC North version of it, and we saw the last episode where he was like, I love Cleveland. He owns like a small stake of the Cleveland Cavaliers, so he's a minority owner there. But he was like meeting with his family, and he was like, yeah, I got to think long and hard about this offseason what I want to do. So I think it's wild card weekend or whatever it is. It's the same weekend that Luka Doncic got traded to the Lakers. And that Monday, Myles Garrett releases a whole statement saying how he loves the city of Cleveland, but it's been real, guys. I want to leave. Yeah. With that in mind, I requested to be traded from the Cleveland Browns. And that's drop the mic, end quote. And then he goes on Rich Eisen and says how it's not about the money. I think about, it's not about, I'm pretty much have had a Hall of Fame career to this point, but I want to win a championship. I want to win a Super Bowl. And if they don't want to trade me, then we'll have those talks. And I thought it was heating up to the point where he was going to possibly not show up to training camp and miss games. He requested to speak with Jimmy Haslam this week. And one of the more ridiculous things I've ever heard as an owner, someone saying they want to meet with you, one of your players, one of your high-profile players wants to meet with you, and you say, nah, no thanks. Yeah. I don't want to. According to Tom Pelissero, that's exactly what happened. Jimmy Haslam told Myles Garrett, nah, I'm good. You have any issues with the quarterback stuff? Talk to Andrew Berry. And then out of nowhere, he signs this contract today. I think that Myles Garrett could definitely have pushed this thing. I think that if he really felt it deep in his heart that he did not want to play for the Cleveland Browns anymore, then he should have stood by that. And if you say it's not about the money, then be about that. Like, I knew eventually, like, I'm not naive. Eventually, some team was got to give him a new contract to whatever team he was going to go to. But I also think that Myles Garrett's a real nice guy. Don't get it twisted. I don't think that him smashing the head of Mason Rudolph was his character. He just freaked out in a moment. It happens. But for him to be like, all right, you're going to pay me $40 million a year. I'm the highest paid non-quarterback in all of football for a short period of time, probably until Jamar Chase gets his contract. All right, I'll run it back with the Browns. I just think it goes against everything that he was talking about for 2 months, and I'm thoroughly disappointed.
I just don't see how this move benefits him because besides financially, you got guys making $40 million a year, but I think that's very easy for us just to say this goes against everything that he talked about, stand on business. But dude, when they're dangling that amount in front of you, $40 million a year, That's life-changing, generational wealth, and they've already made him twice, I think, the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. I don't know if they straight up just showed him the check and he said, "All right, I'm signing with you guys." I don't know if they gave him some assurance that, look, they're heading in the right direction right now. I know they got to pay the rest of that fully guaranteed contract to Deshaun Watson, but they got plans. I mean, look, Derek, if they take Cam Ward second overall, and you still have the other Ward, Denzel Ward, as a cornerback. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with their running back situation with Nick Chubb. I know he came back later on in the season. I don't know what that's going
He
to
ain't
look
coming
like.
back.
But if you have a quarterback and you start there, and it's going to be Cam Ward, that's probably what they're saying. It's like, look, man, you can go to other places. We can trade you here, but that team doesn't have as good of a chance of winning a Super Bowl 4 or 5 years down the line as we do. And they might have convinced him that way. Because at the end of last season, how could you think that anything? I mean, they've always had this second pick. It's not like their draft status has changed ever since Garrett sent out that letter. They've always had that second pick. But they must have convinced him in some way. Am I disappointed? Yes, but the guy's getting $40 million a year. I know it's hard to turn down that kind of money, man.
Yeah, but I gotta believe that money was going to be there for another team.
Maybe. But
It depends on the
I don't
team.
know if $40 million was going to be there for another team. Maybe 36. Maybe 36, just so you could eclipse Max Crosby, or actually, I'm not even going to use 36 as the count. Whatever the guaranteed number that Crosby's going to get, they probably would have gone a few million higher than whatever guaranteed money Max is getting. But
Well, yeah.
God, an average of $5 million more a year, Derek. Like, that's whew.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he gets $40 million a year for a 4-year contract. So that's 160 million total, and he gets 123 million guaranteed.
Jeez.
So that's a lot. That's a lot of coin.
A lot of
I
cheese.
get that. A lot of cheese, a lot of cheddar. But if that was like, I still believe that Myles Garrett. I like to think that these guys, and maybe I'm just being naive, but I like to think these guys at some point just are like, I don't care about the money. I just want to win. And that's what it sounded like with Myles Garrett. But then, like, to totally just change course like that and be like, all right, this is my career. I'll be Joe Thomas. I'll be a guy that has a great Hall of Fame career and puts up good stats, but I never won in Cleveland. And I hear you, but like, I don't know how quick that's going to be. I don't even know if Cam Ward's going to be there at number 2 for the Cleveland Browns. It sounds like the Giants want to trade up with Tennessee.
Yeah.
So I think the Myles Garrett folded way too quickly here. I thought that.
Oh, sorry. Keep going.
No, just that's it. Like, it just goes against everything he was saying. I think that I believed him. It sounded like he was just, I don't care about the money right now, and I don't care about being an all-time great. I'm already that guy. I want to play in January. I'm in February. I want to be a guy that's on a championship team. And yeah, he in the end, when they told him you'll be making $40 million a year, that's enough where you're like, all right, that's how I want to finish my career.
So I have a little trivia question for you. So Nick Bosa is making more total over his previous extension. Like, Nick Bosa is making 170 total. Myles Garrett is making 160 total with this new deal.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you
But
know
it's
how
more
much
guaranteed money, I'm assuming?
Yeah. Do you know how much more?
Much more guaranteed money?
Yeah. Than Bosa.
Bosa got 170.
Yeah.
I'm going to say he got
And
80 guaranteed.
122 guaranteed. No, Derek. As a matter of fact, Bosa is also getting 122 guaranteed.
Oh.
Only $296,000 fewer guaranteed than Myles Garrett. That's kind of wild.
Wow. How much is Crosby getting guaranteed?
Oh God. Let me go back.
See if it's up there.
90. Looks like 91 million.
Damn, that's it.
91 million. Yep.
Jeez, the guaranteed money is wow.
Yeah.
In hindsight, now that makes the Bosa deal, even though that Crosby's getting $35 million a year, pales in comparison to that of Bosa.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Wow.
They had to get that's a lot. That's a lot you gotta give to Bosa. Like, I wonder how much that factors into these 49er contracts as well.
I think a great deal because
guaranteed is what it's all about.
Yeah. And Bosa, I mean, he's a good player. When he got that contract, he was coming off an 18 sack season, but since then, it has not been the same. And he doesn't cause turnovers as much as the other guys.
Yeah.
Case in point, Von Miller, who got released today, he was always forcing fumbles along with Khalil Mack. Those are the guys that I personally would rather have. It's not so much about the sacks. Sacks are a big deal, but also it's to cause turnovers and get forced possessions with those sacks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man.
Look, man,
damn, I did not know Bosa was getting that much money guaranteed.
But I know with Garrett, like, I know we're gonna go after him. It's like, oh, you're selling out, you're going after a payday. Hey, man, the Browns have done some terrible things with their contracts as of late, namely Deshaun Watson. Giving him a fully guaranteed deal, like, that's going to go down as one of the worst transactions in the history of the sport. But had they gotten rid of Myles Garrett, I think that would have cost them $39 million in dead money. Like, that just would have put them in more salary cap hell than they're already in. I know this is going to count a lot towards the salary cap, but if you're paying premium for an edge rusher, I give the Browns a lot of credit for getting this deal done, because the reason we're all so disappointed is because it looked like Garrett not only had one foot out the door, it looked like he had pretty much 3/4 of his body out the door. All he had left in the door was like a shin in his foot, just left in the door. He was ready to go out, and then the Browns pulled him back in. I do give credit for the Browns for getting this deal done, dude. It takes balls. Brass balls, Derek.
I mean, with Jimmy Haslam, his negotiating tactics are. So you don't want to come here, huh? Deshaun Watson, you don't want to come here? All right. What if I give you a fully guaranteed contract? Can't say no to that, huh? All right, there you go. All right, Myles Garrett, you want to be traded, huh? All right. What if I give you $40 million a year? Can't say no to that, huh? All right. I throw money to make all my problems go away, and we'll never win.
I mean, that's not true. It's not like they'll never win.
I mean,
they're in a better place salary cap wise than the Saints right now.
You want
to talk about salary cap hell. They are in the fiery, burning depths of salary cap hell.
They made a lot of bad decisions, and I still don't understand.
Think about the A's of Moneyball.
Yeah.
It's like
there's good teams and bad teams, and there's 50 feet of crap, and then there's the Saints.
And there's us. Yeah. Rich teams, there are poor teams. Then there's 50 feet of crap. And then there's us.
Yeah. And then there's Derek Carr restructuring his contract with the Saints. Yeah. And them hanging on to Alvin Kamara, who I think is still a good player, but does that make sense at this point to keep Alvin Kamara? I do not know.
Letting go of Swag Kage, by the way.
Yeah. Swag Kage. Mm-hmm. Leaders of the village of the hidden dead. Don't get it twisted. This ain't no puppy. It's all bulldog. You hear me?
Has he's got tears running down his face? All-time character.
And according to Tim Kawakami, I've heard Joey Bosa and the 49ers are having good conversations, and this feels like it's headed towards a deal. Nothing is done, but the Bosa brothers want to be together and probably will get there this year, which likely means this will be a moderate deal plus incentives. So, and he goes on to say, like, I don't think necessarily this means that Leonard Floyd is getting cut. I think Joey Bosa is more of a rotational guy in this defensive line.
Right.
If they end up signing Joey Bosa to a 1-year, $15 million deal, which I think would be the max for him, if they can somehow get him down to $10 million, then that would be amazing. But if it's like a 1-year, $15 million deal, basically like what? Like, is that the Justin Verlander contract right now?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that works for Joey Bosa. Now, if you were to ask me, would I rather have Khalil Mack? You bet your ass I would. And Matt Money Smith went on with the Gregs this past week and was like, I think he's making $20 million a year. I think Khalil Mack's going to get that number. I don't know if it's going to be from the Chargers. They probably should fork over that money with the lack of pass rush they have on that team right now. But I do believe Khalil Mack will make more money than Joey Bosa. So if the Niners land Joey Bosa, wouldn't be surprised, and that would be good for marketing. The Bosa brothers teaming up, dad and mom will do a ton of interviews. It'll be fun, but does that make them a formidable pass rush going forward? I would say no. I think that he'll be good. He'll kind of be like getting a D Ford or maybe hopefully a little bit better than a Chase Young. You're getting a guy that gets banged up a lot. So if they can make it work money wise, go for it. But is it going to really equate to them being just a dominant pass rush? I would say no.
Never doubt that duo with the trip to the White House on the line, Derek.
You were waiting for that one, huh?
I was waiting for that. I didn't listen to anything you said. What'd you say? Dude, look, I listened to a little bit. I think it'd be whatever. Go to vote who you want to vote for. I don't care. But
they don't need to go to the White House. I can see it now. Both Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, my favorite bookends, quarterback, killers. I love killers.
I don't like California. Don't like them, except for the couple of brothers on that one team in San Francisco. Can't say a lot about San Francisco, but I can say that I like those two.
All right, mark that down. That's going to be our part of our impressions of the year category.
Look, dude, Joey, I think it would be a great addition. I really, at the end of the day, like if he's getting that money and you're getting him on a contract that's been released, the Levi's Stadium is not known for the lower extremity injuries that has really plagued Joey Bosa and throughout a majority of his career. Although, like last year, he did. He played in 14 games, which I think is a higher number than anyone expected because he played 14 games the previous 2 seasons. But he also had like back and neck issues, which is like, ugh. But if you're gonna just
my neck and my back,
but if you're going to dictate like, or if you're gonna try and predict what a guy's gonna do in a season just based on, well, he's injury prone, so he's probably gonna get injured. There's no point in doing this. I don't know if they should buy into that. Like, but what if he's healthy? Like, I think that's the bigger if. If he's healthy, like Bosa's still a force, man. Even that 2023 season, I know the top 100 players in the NFL is bullshit to you and to a lot of people. But even though he played just a handful of games, like I think he played like 7 games that season or something like that, or maybe 9 games that season, he was still like listed as 70 on the top 100 players because like the opposition fears him. So if you have those two, it'd be scary for quarterbacks. Not sure what that would do for the run game necessarily, but God, if you can get him as a rotational edge rusher, I don't think that's the worst move you can make. You know, he's still just 29 years old.
Yeah, no, it's not a terrible move, especially if it's not costly. I just don't think it's going to be what people expect it to be. Like, we'll make a big deal on it on social media. It will blow up, but I don't think it's going to. I don't think it's going to be like, man, watch out for this pass rush. I think it's a solid move, but they need to make other moves. They need to get younger. They need to draft well, and they need to draft well. They need to get dominant. There's a ton of defensive tackles available in this draft class. Pass rushers too. I think that it's a good solid move, but I would tell everybody like, calm down. This is not what you think it's going to be. I think it's just it's Nick and his brother probably for a season, and then they need to get younger elsewhere.
Yeah. Big day for Cheryl and John though. We spoke to John on 95.7 once when we were hosting. He's funny,
nice.
Man. Yeah, John's funny. Cheryl is too, actually. They both are. We were talking about like 95.7 had the mom on because it's like, who else is going to give us any insight to what Nick Bosa's been doing this offseason when we're waiting for a contract? And so she was like the Nick Bosa insider. And I don't know. They seem funny. They all seem like a fun family.
Did I ever tell you the story of how I tried to get John Bosa on, Nick's father?
No.
Did like a lot of maneuvering. So I never know, like, when you're producer, is it the right route to go with like the parents coming on? Some people want to talk to the parents, some don't. Like Tom was never really interested in like, I don't really care about a guy's parents. I want to talk to the guy.
Right.
My pops is really into talking to the fathers. Hello, Daddy. Hello, Daddy Thompson. He used to say that shit. Still does say that shit. When I was at 95.7, we had, is it Cheryl Bosa?
Yeah.
Well, we had her number, and because she was in real estate, so I talked to her, and it was very awkward to ask for her. They're not married anymore. Her ex-husband's number.
Oh,
and she was like, "Yeah, I don't mind giving out the number." So acquired that,
I didn't even know that.
and I called the number and thought it was John Bosa. Was talking to this guy, and then out of nowhere he goes, "Whoa, whoa, 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 bro. This is not John. You're talking to Joey Bosa right now, man." I was like, "Oh shit, what's up, Joey?" He goes, "Yeah, man. Uh, so what's going on? You trying to get a hold of my dad?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I could give you the number, bro, but I don't really enjoy someone blowing my phone up like this." And I'm like, "No, I apologize, dude. I got this number from your mom." And he was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool. If she wants to give out the number, yeah, I got you, bro." And I was like, "Do you want to come on to talk about Nick at all?" He goes, "No, man, it's all good. I'm enjoying some fish tacos right now."
Yeah, yeah. For all the political stuff that's kind of been surrounding those guys,
Entertaining.
they are very much like that. And look, Nick Bosa's mic'd up segments are maybe like the best out of any player.
You enjoy them a lot.
I do like the Nick Bosa mic'd up a lot. So it's like
Ice Age.
it's so funny, dude. It's just like Fred Warner says, like an impassioned speech, and he's got the defense huddled around, and then Bosa like turns to Greenlaw or whoever it was, and he just goes, "Couldn't agree more."
That's a sackaroonie, baby.
That's a sackaroonie, baby. Just a man. What characters? Wow.
Yes, they are characters.
I'd hang out with I'd hang out with the Bosas. I know I made that little White House joke at the top. It feels like that's low hanging fruit now, but
I don't know how long you would last, though.
nah, I don't know either.
Yeah,
I don't know. They probably get into like a quad battle to see who could do the most squats or something.
and you could take him to school,
Absolutely not. Oh my god.
as you did in high school against Robert Turbin.
I what? No. What? No. He was way before me.
Don't deny it, Stephen.
He
Don't
was
deny it.
way before.
I don't know
before my
why.
time.
I don't know why I exaggerate this, because you told me that you went to high school not the same time as Robert Turbin, but like he was like
A few years after.
yeah,
Yeah.
a few years after. So for whatever reason, I make it seem like you and Robert Turbin were like adversaries
Yeah.
trying to outlift each other.
Do that to my brother. My brother was going to school at the same time as he was.
Oh, okay.
Dude, I'll never forget that. That was wild. Turbin was doing everything. He was playing like strong safety, playing wide receiver, kick returner. Then eventually he turned into a running back at senior year. It was crazy, man. He was just wow, one of a kind.
Other moves that were made, one of the bigger free agents available this offseason, Ronnie Stanley, signed yesterday to go back to the Baltimore Ravens on a 3-year, $60 million deal. So a lot of teams that needed O-line help will miss out on him. I thought that maybe that would have been a move the Bears would be interested in, given that they're going, they're very focused on improving their offensive line with the trades of Jonah Jackson and Joe Tooney, but they're missing out on Ronnie Stanley. So we'll see who else gets big bank offensive line wise. And this just happened actually after they make a big trade for him during the season. Zadarius Smith has been released by the Lions. They signed back Marcus Davenport yesterday. But yeah, just like that, Zadarius Smith cut. So we'll see if they try to go younger pass rush wise with the Detroit Lions. You want to switch over to a little basketball, Steven?
Yeah, man.
Let's do it.
Oh yeah.
So which game was the most relevant one the last time we were doing a podcast? I think it was the Knick game.
Yeah, because they went to the Nets on Thursday.
That's right. So they went in Brooklyn, in the Brooklyn Zoo, and the Warriors, I mean, their formula right now is to not play very well in the first half.
Yeah.
And then do their Dubcon 3 thing. And Steph Curry explodes. Jimmy Butler takes over for the non-Steph minutes, and that's how they win games.
Dude, I don't even know if it's the third quarter in its entirety. It's more like the last 2 minutes of the third quarter and then the first few minutes of the fourth. It's even more with the second unit. And then Steph Curry comes in to close them out and says night-night, even though the night-night almost came back to bite him against the Nets. That was terrifying.
Yeah, I didn't really enjoy I didn't enjoy that one just because they were dicking around a little bit too much at the end of that game.
Yeah.
It was more so like they did the Dubcon 3 thing against the Knicks.
Right.
And the Magic. But it really, I mean, the last 2 games have been squeakers. As far as the Brooklyn Nets game.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, they were down, was it 35-15 in the first quarter?
Yeah,
I mean,
dude.
before that, it was 25-5, and they were just playing like crap. And we were all like, they partied too much for Draymond's birthday party on that day off in New York. And then they switch it in the second quarter, outscoring the Nets 40-25.
Did your
Steph,
dad say suffering from a little bit of that Brooklyn flu, huh?
no, actually, Copes dropped the New York flu.
The New York flu.
The New York flu.
Oh.
Yeah. Although, although my dad loves the what was the one always before, the Miami flu. They got the case of the Miami flu.
Yeah, Miami flu. Club live, huh? Go a little bit of club live.
The Clevelander, huh? I've been there.
Yeah. Like, just starts listing off places. That's when I think your dad's in his element, to be honest. That's when I love listening to Greg, is when he starts going off about those things and just naming like obscure high-end places that probably half the listeners haven't even heard of, but it sounds extravagant.
You got to be me to be at these places, people. You wish you were me, but you're not. Only I'm me. Anyway.
Oh, God.
And so
Empire State Building, huh?
Yeah.
Like, that's all I know. That's all I know.
I throw pennies and kill people from atop there.
Go to a Broadway show.
So yeah, the Warriors, they rebound, and in the second half against the Brooklyn Nets, even though they dicked around a little bit too much, I still don't understand what the Brooklyn Nets were doing, where they had a double team on Draymond Green in the corner, and then they converge on him and leave Steph Curry wide open for the night. He does an aggressive night where he slams his head on the pillow.
Yeah.
And then some turnovers. Steph Curry's throwing the ball around. Jimmy Butler's throwing the ball around. They still win that game by 2. And then last night, I was more impressed because the Detroit Pistons are not the same old Pistons. Cade Cunningham's a good player. Was it JT Bickerstaff? I mean,
JB, yeah.
JB Bickerstaff goes from team to team. He always seems like the interim head coach of a team that's like on the rise. Like they think they're a good team, and then that coach gets fired. Then JB Bickerstaff comes in, fills in for Monty Williams, and they're just a solid team right now. They went 10-2 in their last 12, as did the Warriors. And last night was a slugfest, and I kind of wanted to see that. Like, it's the same thing. The Warriors did not shoot well in the first half. I think they were 4 of 23 in the first half. I could be wrong on that one. I think it was 5.
You're right.
Okay. So yeah, they were wrong, or they were not good in the first half shooting the 3, and then came back and just had a solid. It was a back and forth effort. I thought that Moses Moody at times played really good defense. He was feisty. He was aggressive, getting steals in the first half. Just having a hard time cover Cade Cunningham. He had a clutch fourth quarter steal that basically preserved the victory for the Warriors. Draymond getting a clutch 3 in the end, but it's really when Steph Curry's not on the floor and Jimmy Butler being aggressive, going to the rack. He got his most points as a Warrior so far with 26.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like, I know that, probably some people are going to be like, it's kind of the same deal right now. They kind of half-ass it in the first half and then get aggressive in the second half. But that's what you want to see down the stretch here. Like, it was a pretty good opponent. The Pistons are, I think, 5th or 6th in the East. And that's the way it's going to be in the postseason. That you're going to see playoff games like that. So I came away very impressed with the win last night, where they weren't blowing out a bad team. They were competitive with a good team and found a way to win.
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing beyond just the Warriors yesterday, and I'm not going to lie, I haven't watched much Pistons basketball. I've watched highlights, but that's about it.
Right.
But, you mentioned him at the top, but Cade Cunningham's a special player, man. They got to pair up. Like, I know they gave Malik Beasley the last 3-point shot of the game to potentially tie it, but Beasley's, he's a kind of a 6-man type of player. I think you need to pair up an elite shooter with Cunningham and that Pistons team. They're going to be a lot of fun to watch in the playoffs already, because the Eastern Conference sucks. And they're going to get into the top 6 teams. So they're going to automatically get a spot there. But if they pair him up with a kind of like the type that would be like Klay Thompson in his prime or something, like an elite shooter who they could pay, with him, one of the Thompson brothers, Asar and Amen. Amen's on the Rockets. Both those guys from Oakland, by the way. They just happened to move to Florida to play high school basketball. So shout out to the Thompson brothers. But Cade Cunningham, just very impressive. Just a 3-level scorer, man. He's a star. But as far as the Warriors, it's just Jimmy Butler. You got a little taste of Jimmy Butler more, I think, as far as what he's going to look like in the playoffs than, say, other games. I think he was a little more aggressive in this one. He's talked a lot on this previous road trip about how unselfish the Warriors are, and he says they're too unselfish at times. And it felt like Jimmy, it felt like Isaiah Stewart lit a fire under him before he pushed Steph Curry, and we can get to that too. But Jimmy Butler just went at him. I love that. I love that they finally have a guy, because Steph, it's not like he's just, sure, he'll go one-on-one and he'll hit a step back three in someone's face. But the Warriors don't really have that guy who's going to get the ball at the top of the key or on the wing, whatever, way beyond the 3-point line. And they're just going to go at somebody one-on-one, get the switch, back them down, and then just hit a few moves on him. Like we saw Butler do that over Stewart after that really, really hard foul in the second half. So, again, just a solid team win. Guy Santos, man. Bring in the energy, dude. Like, I know we kind of made fun of it a little bit, but that guy really is an energizer buddy out there. He's bringing you the same style of play that, like, Juan Toscano Anderson was bringing.
Yeah.
JPA, just these hustle plays. And Guy Santos going to the rack. My God, that what was it? The putback.
The putback. He missed the free throw, but
right.
And that was during the whole thing with Steph Curry and Isaiah Stewart. And I'm not familiar with Isaiah Stewart's game. I only know him for doing his angry run where he was rumbling and tumbling towards LeBron James. Yeah. And then last night, for whatever reason, he felt the need to tell Steph Curry in his own house, step away from our bench. You're that close to it. Move away. And Steph's like, the fuck? I own this place. Get your fucking hands off me.
Yeah.
Get your fucking hands off me. Like Kevin Durant told Mike Budenholzer the other night. And then, Draymond gets a clutch 3. They win that game. Yeah.
Draymond getting the 3. Dude, what the most improbable, the most improbable final 2 plays that sealed it in the last 2 games. A double team on Draymond that left it wide open for Steph. Like, I'm surprised Fitz didn't go like, Draymond took all those players to Hoboken or something like that. And then Draymond hitting the 3 last night to seal it. Yeah, man. Isaiah
I was hoping for something more topical from Bob Fitzgerald, when Draymond hits a 3 and he's like, Draymond laughs in the face of death. Too soon? We'll get to that a little later.
Good God. But no, Isaiah Stewart, I don't know. This is his identity. This is who he is. He tries to be kind of an agitator. He doesn't really have much to his game. Sometimes he scores, but at least in this game, he kind of embarrassed himself, I thought. And I see, the thing is, like, I don't know if he's a fake tough guy, according to the skills report. I think he's a pretty tough dude. I don't know if you'd really want to mess with him.
He just messes with the wrong guys.
I don't think he's a fake tough guy. I just think he's kind of come to realize, like, I don't have the talent, but I have the size, and I could try to get under their skin. But yes, do you really want to do that now with these players? I don't think so. I mean, it's look, he's just kind of Isaiah Stewart's just another one of these kind of players you're going to forget about in 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, who's my guy on the Indiana Pacers back in the day that would blow in the ear of LeBron James?
Lance Stevenson.
You
don't forget about Lance Stevenson.
I already have, man.
Stevenson had game, dude. Stevenson had game.
He had way more game than Isaiah Stewart did.
Yeah.
Or does currently.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know what he does, but he just gets in. Like, the only thing I know about him is he got into a fight with LeBron James. He got into a fight with Steph Curry last night.
Yeah.
Jonathan Kuminga didn't play last night, and that was kind of the expectation. And it sounds like he's not going to play tomorrow. Steve Kerr said that he's been scrimmaging. He looks good. It's just a matter of time. We're happy to get him back. But I got to be honest. Like,
I think we're going to go in the same direction here.
Yeah, like, when he says, Steve Kerr last night, it's like, yeah, I mean, we're excited for Jonathan Kuminga to come back, but Guy Santos is still going to get his minutes. And we got to go with the guys that have helped us win during this win streak. I think it's going to be baby steps for Jonathan Kuminga And if people are expecting him to come back and be a factor, I don't think that's happening. I think he's going to play minimal minutes. I think it's going to be all Jimmy Butler and Guy Santos. And if you're expecting Jonathan Kuminga to be a guy in the postseason, he's never played in the postseason. Like he has, like against the Grizzlies in that series for matchup reasons, but he played for like 5 minutes when Steve Kerr realized he wasn't up for the moment. So I would say Jonathan Kuminga's not going to be much of a factor going forward as far as this season.
Well, also it's a scary injury. Like you don't want to aggravate that even more. I think that's why they're slow playing this. It's the Warriors are giving them a little more flexibility just with the way that they're playing.
31 games though, man.
I know. But I keep watching this team, and I do wonder. Like, there's a couple of little thoughts that go in the back of my head. Like, well, where's he going to fit? Because they are just like Gary Payton II is playing so well defensively. Moody is. Again, you mentioned Moody at the top, playing good defense, but also giving you a nice open three if you need it. Like, feels like Kuminga is just gonna. Like, I don't know. I'd like to think he'll make this team better, but they're just playing at such a high level at such a fast pace, and I know Kuminga fits in with that, but like I don't know. What if he? I'm not going to say slows them down because they're still going to play at that speed. But what if there are just certain plays that he makes where it's just, Kuminga, what are you doing? Because the thing about the Warriors is they've been making not just the right plays, they've been taking the right shots. And how often do we hear that with Kerr and Kuminga? Like Kuminga would have some of those games where he'd go off, right? And you're just like, my God, this is every bit of the 7th overall pick that we thought we were getting in 2021. This has all the makings of a superstar. Jed York, Joe Lacob, go get the checkbook right now. Give this guy an extension. But there's other days where you're like, Kuminga, what are you doing? Why are you taking a fadeaway turnaround jumper when you could just go at the guy? Like maybe Butler will help him out with that, but how much of that is instincts that, you can't teach? There's a lot of questions. There are more questions to me than actual answers. There's a lot of just, can you imagine what this team will look like when they get Kuminga back? Well, I'm more like, I can't.
Yeah.
That's my problem. I can't. I don't
know.
And
I think Steve Kerr doesn't want to mess with a good thing right now.
Right.
So they're going to definitely ease him into him coming back. And I think people are going to expect him to be this X factor or whatnot. And I'm like, hold your horses. I think that Jonathan Kuminga, with how much time he's missed and how different the team looks with Jimmy Butler, they're not going to change things just for the benefit of Jonathan Kuminga. So I would say going into this offseason where Jonathan Kuminga is a restricted free agent, I don't know if Jonathan Kuminga is going to put a lot to end the season here on tape for them to feel comfortable giving him a super max deal, but we'll see.
We also know how much Steve Kerr likes riding with the hot hand, so to speak. He likes to use the players that are playing well. And if, say, there's a drop off with Moody's game, which I don't envision since he's been playing a lot better. We didn't even mention Brandon Podziemski because he was hurt, but Brandon Podziemski has been playing a lot better since he's come back. Kevon Looney's giving them solid minutes. Quentin Post is giving them solid minutes. Like I think we were kind of making a little light of that, but no, Quentin Post is really becoming a good a factor for them.
He is,
although he's got to be a bit stronger at the rim. Like it's hey man, you're 7 feet tall. Like come on, use a little bit of whatever strength you have.
I would even say, I mean, Jimmy Butler had a great performance last night, but I wouldn't say Jimmy needs to be a little stronger with the rim sometimes.
Yeah, but he's also got back spasms, it's like,
that's true.
Sometimes you got to take that easy.
Yeah, but there was cut back lanes where he's wide open and he just didn't put the ball in for whatever reason, but that happens.
Right. But look, it was a solid win and they just keep stacking them. And I mean, I didn't even look at the other scores from last night. Where are we at in the standings right now? How are we?
Well, right now the Lakers fell to the 3 seed with their loss, and LeBron James hurt his groin, so he's going to be out for the next 2 weeks. And some people are buying the Lakers, some are not. You can't really scoff at the 8-game win streak they had. At the same time, a lot of people think that their lack of size and rim protection is going to be their undoing in the postseason. And the Celtics just took them to school last night. They were leading that game for most of the time. And then in the fourth quarter, they kind of let it slip away a little bit. But yeah, the Celtics were hitting threes. They're just the better team right now. I think at the end of the day, if I had to guess the standings, I think that OKC, they just killed the Nuggets. I think that obviously they're going to stay at 1. The Lakers may have gone up to 2 now.
They are.
But the Nuggets have 1. Yeah, okay.
Second.
I think that flip-flops. I think the Nuggets get the 2 seed. I think the Lakers get the 3 seed. I think the Warriors could get up to 4. I really do. I think that the way that the Rockets, they're not slipping right now, but they've beat up on like the Pelicans, I think, the last 2 games. I think they come down. I think the Grizzlies come down. I'm looking at that 4 seed for the Warriors.
Yeah, it's very possible. But, I mean, you never know. To me, today the Timberwolves are going to be playing the Spurs, and the Spurs are obviously without Wembanyama. So,
yeah,
you could probably chalk that up as a victory. And I don't know, they might have – I mean, they might still be there's just going to be nothing that separates them. Who won the tiebreaker between the Warriors and the Timberwolves again? I think it's the Warriors, right?
Warriors,
so far?
3-1.
Yeah. The Warriors did. So, all right, that's good.
Let's do our Jackass of the Week real quick here. Before I get to the main one for me, you have one, right, Steven?
I might.
You might. Okay. I don't want to steal it. What's yours?
It is, well, I mean, I don't know. Isaiah Stewart, I guess, was the one. I didn't even forgot we were doing this, Derek.
Okay, fair enough. We got into Isaiah Stewart. The Jackass of the Week / John Fisher award winner. We could throw this guy in every week. Honorable mention, just John Fisher in the A's once again. Now reading the room, just being just a shitty organization, honestly.
Yeah.
Putting the Las Vegas patches on their jerseys when they're playing in Sacramento. When they're going to have one patch that says Sacramento and one patch with Las Vegas. And God, I'm so conflicted. Like when I watched that video, there's no comment section. They disabled that, so no one can gripe about it unless you retweet it and quote tweet it. But hearing Ken Korak's voice underneath, you're like, oh man, Ken, they got you too. But Ken lives in Las Vegas, so I get it. But just to him, like the whole production of it, it's like, we're not going to forget where the A's are going in the future. And it's like, whatever. I mean, what are we talking about here? So while you're playing in Sacramento and you couldn't just play out the last remaining years in Oakland, you're playing in Sacramento at a minor league ballpark. You're going to have a awkward jersey that says the name of the city you're eventually going to. Just the whole thing's a clusterfuck. Your quick thoughts on that, Steven?
They're moving, dude. Like I don't really. I know we keep on looking at this stuff, and I know they gave Butler the extension, but they're moving. I think we gotta move on. You know, like
I try to, but they keep pissing me off.
I get it, and I get why you'd be pissed at that. It's kind of a joke. It really is all a joke. This whole thing's been a joke.
Okay,
just all of it.
But my real Jackass of the Week. Look, Draymond Green's an incredible player, but I got to give it to him for what went on with him and his podcast. And I'll play the first audio here. This is him when they played the Knicks earlier this week. Draymond went on his podcast with Baron Davis and talked about Karl-Anthony Towns not playing in the game.
For us, and obviously they ain't had Cat. You know, some would say he didn't play because Jimmy was in the building. I don't know.
It's like that.
You know, I'll tell you what, though, I saw Cat Pops yesterday at the game, and it's always love. I got mad love for the OG. His Pops is an incredible man. But yeah, they said Cat ain't play because Jimmy came into town, and you know him and Jimmy had the infamous practice in Minnesota.
Oh yeah.
And so,
what?
I mean, that's the thing. I don't know.
That's a conspiracy theory says he was hurt.
I don't know what was hurt. I didn't look that deep into it to figure out like what his injury was or nothing like that, bro. You know,
Shit like that be shit like that be happening, bro. That's the history of the league.
Okay, I mean, you get the point here. They're insinuating that Karl Anthony Towns didn't want to play in the game because of Jimmy Butler back in the day, the practice that they got into where Jimmy basically called him soft. And I just find that a little hypocritical, first and foremost, because the way that Draymond's saying the infamous practice. Well, Draymond, we can bring up the infamous practice in your career where you punched Jordan Poole. And I know it's all fun and games. I don't know his relationship with Karl Anthony Towns. He talked to his father before the game. But yeah, he basically called him out and said he didn't want any of the smoke with Jimmy Butler. Then come to find out that Karl Anthony Towns missed the game because he went to a funeral of, whoever it was, whether it was a close friend. I've heard that maybe it was a friend of his girlfriend's. Regardless, he missed the game because somebody passed away. And I just think that's, I don't know, incredibly insensitive of Draymond Green. And then when asked about it after the Brooklyn game, this was Draymond Green's response.
Did you see any reaction today to your comments about Cat?
No.
And what the circumstances were?
No. What's the circumstance?
Apparently, he said he was at a funeral for a family friend.
Oh man, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks. But my comments that I made was what I heard was this. That's what I heard. So I do, send my well wishes to him and his family. None of us, it's inevitable. We all experience death in one way or another, and we'll all experience it in the same way one day. So it's unfortunate. You never wish that on anybody, but the Draymond Green show with Baron Davis must go on. So I definitely, wish them well and wish their family well and grieving, because we all go through that, and it's never easy for anyone. The Draymond Green show with Baron Davis will go on.
I would have been fine with everything in that answer, except for the Draymond Green show with Baron Davis will go on. If he just said everything he said, then that would have been fine. And even to kind of like defend himself, being like, this is what I heard. And, he gave his condolences, which was nice. But it also was just kind of like, sorry, I understand that I definitely got that information wrong, but you're not going to take away my podcast. I just didn't like that whole thing. I love Draymond Green as a player. I even defended him many times with some of the violent acts that he has on the court, but I can't defend this. I thought this was pretty jackass worthy of Draymond Green.
Yeah. Pretty poor taste of him, but I don't know. That's such a difficult situation just because you need some time to process that, man. But like, and how to answer it, but I don't know. Like, it seems like a lot of these NBA players, they feel like, it's not just NBA players, it's athletes. Sometimes when they get asked these questions, it's like they're trying to attack them or cancel them or turn like the public on them. It's like, no, we're just trying to get some clarity here and give you an opportunity to maybe clear up whatever. That's what clarity means. Give you an opportunity to clear up whatever you just said. No one's trying to take away your show. No one ever asked like, hey, is the Draymond Green show? Like, clearly he's heard some of the response. Like, that's the thing. Is like at the start of it, he's like, no, I haven't heard it. I haven't heard any reaction. What are you talking about? You heard it. If you took that question as, well, the Draymond Green show and the Baron Davis podcast isn't going to go on. If you took that as, well, they're going to take away your podcast. Have you heard about that? They want you to stop doing it. No, that wasn't said in the question. It was just asking about, have you heard about Karl Anthony Towns and what happened?
Yeah. I think it was Awful Announcing that had a tweet up or an article out saying that TNT needs to cut ties with Draymond Green. And I disagree with that. I think Draymond's allowed to do his podcast, and he had a bad moment. But does that mean that TNT needs to get out of that contract with him? No, I disagree with that. But it would have been better if Draymond just acknowledged that he made a mistake and sends his condolences to Karl Anthony Towns. Which, by the way, like when it comes to Karl Anthony Towns and death, I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's well documented. He lost six family members during COVID, including his mother. So the man has dealt with a lot. So I don't know who was this family friend, or even if it was a family friend or whoever it was. At the end of the day, he was attending a funeral, and that's all that needs to be said. Especially when Draymond Green has a teammate, and Andrew Wiggins, former teammate, who missed an extended period amount of time because of his father and what he was going through at that time. So I don't think it was appropriate for Draymond Green to defend his podcast in that moment. He could have done that at a different time.
Right. I mean, you got to come out with an episode and kind of explain everything, man, because that was a bad look. I
think
really
so.
do. And like,
I think so. I mean, it's not anything that we need to like be canceling Draymond Green for. I just hate that terminology these days. But
well, it's fake terminology too. It's like we don't really cancel that many people. It's as many as you think.
Yeah.
Hey, he's canceled. Louis C.K. still making a whole bunch of money at Madison Square Garden, and really he's addressed all of that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird, man. It's weird. There's some stuff that's just indefensible, you know.
Yeah, like I said, I like Draymond a lot. There's just some things that over the years where I'm like, I can't really get behind that, Draymond. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll root for you. I rooted for you last night. You made a great 3, but
yeah,
can't get behind that whole thing.
Right.
Real quick before we get out of here.
But isn't that what it makes it great about like human beings, though? You could disagree on certain things and just say you're not okay with how they handled that. But
yeah.
It's like,
And then we move on.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, what have you made of the whole, and I know we're running along here, but I wanted to have this conversation. What did you make of the whole NBA media thing lately? So I'm encompassing a lot of different things here, but I think it's all related. LeBron saying to reporters after a game, I understand why Anthony Edwards doesn't want to be the face of the NBA because everyone just shits on you. He's talking about basically Stephen A. Smith and Charles Barkley. Then a week later, Charles Barkley, at the beginning of Inside the NBA, basically is like, all these idiots on ESPN talking, Kendrick Perkins, doesn't say Stephen A. Smith by name. All these idiots talking about the Lakers and Warriors, and they talk about them way too much. They've had a good 2 weeks. But what about OKC? What about Cleveland? We're not talking about those teams enough. And then the cherry on top, LeBron James going out of his way to talk to Stephen A. Smith. This is what I think why people are kind of turned off by the NBA, because the storylines the next day weren't the Warriors, weren't the Lakers, weren't OKC, weren't the Cleveland Cavaliers. It was all about the media and how they cover the NBA. That's what I think bothers people. I think it's entertaining. We're obviously talking about it, but I think that's what steals the headlines. I think that's what's the biggest problem right now with the league.
Well, that's what it's all about. Like Stephen A. makes it all about himself. He doesn't focus on the players. He's just like flexing that LeBron could have called me. He knows how to get my number. He knows how to. I don't know. And plus, they gave him what, 5 years, $100 million. Like he's a like what did you say earlier? Like he's a running back. It's like, dude.
Yeah.
The whole thing is just, it's a circus. And I guess I get where LeBron's coming from, but I think also these players need to have a thicker skin. Like I at the end of the day, we're praising LeBron as one of the greatest basketball players of all time. It's just everyone trying to shoot him down. Like what's he talking about? How we all know that he's lying when it comes to like reading books or making certain statements, and we just all know that's a lie. Is it what hard questions is LeBron getting asked from the media? I've listened to a lot of press conferences with LeBron, and I haven't heard anyone like really go at him. I just don't know what he's talking about there. And Anthony Edwards, fine. You don't want to be the face of the league. You don't have to be the face of the league. But I also think what got lost in all of it is, sorry, just based on what happened this road trip, to me, Steph Curry's the face of the league. I think he's the face of the league for the younger generation. I think he's getting the younger generation into basketball. I think he is what LeBron James was to a lot of people for me growing up. I think globally what he did in Paris, I'm sorry, I think the face of the NBA is number 30. So you're talking to the two wrong people about that, because I don't think LeBron may not have embraced it, but I think Steph Curry absolutely has. And that's why we love Steph so much. And I'm not doing that just to be like the same old Bay Area media member who, just we don't ever criticize Steph. There are certain things that can be critiqued, but as far as being like a figure, a role model, Steph has been that to a T. So I think you're talking to the wrong people when it comes to the face of the NBA. Anthony Edwards doesn't want to be. Okay, so what? There's probably going to be another one on the way. I mean, I know that there's a whole America versus France thing, but like I think Wembanyama has all the makings to be a superstar and a face of the league. He seems to be a really great ambassador for it. I don't know. I just think you're talking to the two wrong people.
I agree. I think that right now Steph and LeBron are the faces of the NBA. And it seems that Steph gets a lot of hate, not as much as LeBron. I will say that. LeBron is always compared to Michael Jordan, and even Stephen A. Smith earlier this week was like, we need to get away from that. Even though he acts all hard towards LeBron, he does cater to him. But yeah, I think that Steph Curry handles it better than LeBron does. As far as everything else with Charles Barkley, like I get that, like, but to act like Charles Barkley like talks about every team in the league, like, please, do you think he knows who Isaiah Stewart is?
That's the thing. It's like it's Barkley's acting like they are the show that's going to give you in-depth talk of basketball. It's like, you're just going to tell me who goes fishing after they lose in the postseason.
Yeah, seriously.
And then Shaq's going to, what'd you say, Chuck? Like you're going to make fun of the women down in San Antonio. That kind of thing. Although
like they have a segment dedicated to, who he played for. Like that's the whole point for Charles Barkley to come out and be like, man, ESPN talks too much about the Lakers and Warriors. They don't talk enough about OKC and the Cavs. Okay. Well, first off, OKC and the Cavs are a great story. But your quotes, if you went on a rant about them, that wouldn't go nearly as viral as what you just said. You're proving your own point. People are interested in certain things. They're interested in the Lakers and Warriors because those two teams have the faces of the NBA. So that's why ESPN has to talk about them. And this whole thing is funny because Charles Barkley will eventually work on ESPN while they have a multicast or simulcast for the NBA on TNT when it moves to ABC. I don't even know what the hell they're going to call it. But yeah, I think Charles Barkley just sounds like me in my younger days. Was like, oh, ESPN is lazy. Of course they're lazy. Watch something else, Charles. Like you love gambling, you love poker. Like watch something else. Like watch hockey.
Although,
he's just complaining that ESPN takes the lazy route when it comes to talking about NBA.
Hand up, though, I will admit that during that clip, I did laugh when Shaq.
Oh, of course.
When Shaq asked him, "Who are you talking about, Chuck?" Because he knew who John Barkley was talking about. He's trying to pry it out of him. I don't know. Excellent. I'll just say this: excellent camera work done by the TNT crew for just cutting to Shaq out of nowhere, and he's just got his head down. And he's just giggling. I don't know. This also comes on the heels of Shaq going viral for saying Steph Curry deserves to be in the GOAT conversation. Yeah. Like, it's what drives the media, man. Like, this is, you could talk about all these other teams, but look at these. Like, look at these numbers here. No one really cares to hear about these other teams right now. I get it, but also I'm not going to sit here and defend ESPN either, because I think ESPN has just turned into nothing but like an insider show where it's like Adam Schefter or Brian Windhorst. They try and say something where it's like, hey, Kevin Durant going to join the Timberwolves after this offseason. Fantastic. Great. Now we know where Kevin Durant's going next year. Cool. We still have 20 games left on the season.
Break down the games now.
It's like, it's nothing but that. I mean, there is some analysis. I'll say that. It's not like it's all hot takes. Just a lot of the clips and stuff that they post are a lot of it. Like NFL Live, I think, does a really good job of breaking down games and actually focusing on the games as opposed to just one specific team. At least I think so. But for the most part, the fact that they're getting like rid of Around the Horn, PTI is still going strong, but sometimes Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon just come off as like jaded towards sports. And then
but I kind of like it because Wilbon craps on everybody on his own network.
Yeah, I do think they bring great perspective, especially when it comes to speaking of superstars and historical and where they rank in historical, like where we're talking about Diana Taurasi. I thought Tony Kornheiser and Michael Wilbon were great on that topic. But as far as ESPN, dude, like I'm not clamoring to get to my TV so I could see one of those, poorly done impersonations done on the Pat McAfee show. I need the Just Your Opinion Man podcast for that. I don't need to go to ESPN for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Although they have the budget to do the really good like costumes and everything. The costumes really sell it.
Yeah. Who's that guy? The producer of the show that does pretty well?
It was either Mullet 1 or Mullet 2, according to Bill Simmons.
Mullet 1 or Mullet 2.
Yeah.
I'm
not gonna. Bill Simmons has some weird thing. He says weird things on his media, man. It's a bizarre place.
Media is weird right now, and just like that pretty much comes to the point of LeBron James versus Stephen A. Smith, where LeBron just won a game against the New York Knicks. He has to go out of his way to go to Stephen A. to talk to him about Bronny. And Stephen A. went on his podcast and said that basically LeBron said, "Stop fucking with my son." And I don't know. Like, to me, like, I think this is getting too much into, like, it's like the old days where players would go after reporters, but then the reporter makes it all about him the next day on First Take, where he was like, I don't want this to become a thing. I don't want to talk about it. This was a private conversation I had with LeBron James. But then when I see the video has gone viral and everyone in the world is asking about it, I had to address it. And I understand he's not a player in that moment. He's a father, which I get all that. But I would also say Stephen A., I think it was a couple months ago, the whole thing that started this was his rant about how he's pleading to LeBron James, stop doing this to Bronny. And I think that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, including Draymond. So now LeBron has to come up to him after a game and be like, don't be talking about the way I parent my son, which is fair, but also at the same time, it's fair game to go after Bronny because he's a player in the league. And it is unfair to what LeBron James is doing to his son right now. His son should have got about it a different way.
LeBron tweeted that he'd be better than half of the NBA right now.
Yeah.
So you're kind of opening up a can of worms there, bud.
And it's a sports story. So yeah, it's fair game. It's to have a take. That's what the whole show is about, is to be like, I think LeBron James is going about things the wrong way. You orchestrated a way for your son to have his basketball career. It shouldn't have been done this way. So I don't know. I thought that Stephen A. Smith kind of catered to LeBron a little bit too much, where it's like, if you felt that way, stand on your ground, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I got for today. Steven, anything else?
Nope. Been going for almost 2 hours, 10 minutes here, Derek. I pretty much got nothing left.
All right. Fair enough. All right, everybody. Well, if you thought today was too much, just wait till tomorrow. We're back, tomorrow. Baby. We'll be back tomorrow at 7:15 to go through the whole fuckery. What's going to go down tomorrow? Who's going to sign? If we'll see any more trades, we'll react to it all tomorrow at 7:15 on Just Your Opinion, man. The fuckery is afoot. That's what we call free agency on this show. To everybody in the chat, no, you're not invisible, AJ Cruz. I'm going to get to you right now. Jeez. AJ Cruz is so mad that we don't take calls on this podcast. I'm sorry. I don't have the technology that Walter has. Maybe you can help me out there, AJ Cruz. Thanks to AJ Cruz. 805 Blackbeard. That may be somebody else's burner account. Pat H. Okay. I guess Pat H doesn't. Yeah. Okay. Ernie 1. Pat H doesn't want me talking NFL free agency. All right. You got Rocka New Era. I said Ernie 1. Tacky was in here for a little bit of time. Skills report. All right, guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Steven, say what you always say.
Oh boy. God, it's been 2 hours. It's just our opinion, man.